The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, writes that the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, found no comfort similar to that which he found as in being alone with God as he took to the cave to immerse himself in reflection. It would not have been an easy undertaking, having with him at most a water skin. Yet when engrossed to such a degree in love, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, found no greater enjoyment and contentment. The Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would spend nights on end in a place where people would otherwise be afraid to go. It goes to show that true love for God begets bravery. Hence, a believer is courageous. Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, narrates the commencement of the divine inspiration to Allah's Messenger, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was in the form of true dreams in his sleep. He never had a dream but that it came true like bright daylight. He used to go into seclusion in the cave of Hira, where he used to worship Allah continuously for many nights. He used to take with him on the journey food for that stay, and then return to his wife Khadija to take his food for another period of stay, till suddenly the truth descended upon him while he was in the cave of Hira. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, said that God has stated that finding him and establishing a connection with him is predicated upon making an effort. As God says in the Holy Quran, chapter 53, verse 40, and that man will have nothing but what he strives for. And in chapter 29, verse 70, and as for those who strive in our path, we will surely guide them in our ways. Some think that after making the slightest of efforts, they should be granted great ranks in the sight of Allah. But when we see the example of the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, who was the seal of prophets and the greatest of all men, and did not achieve his lofty ranks in the sight of God with mediocre efforts, then how can anyone else expect to achieve lofty heights without making great efforts in the way of God, as the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, did? Indeed, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, loved being alone with God. But when a certain point was reached, God said in the Holy Quran, chapter 74, verses 2 to 3, O thou that hast wrapped thyself in thy mantle, arise and warn. After his love for God and his efforts to that end had reached their peak, God instructed him to leave this solitude and go forth to spread his message. This shows that the Holy Prophet's, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, relationship with God had much to do with the efforts that he made to that end. This was greatly manifested in his prayers. It is recorded that the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would become so immersed in prayers and would pray with such fervency that it would sound to those in his vicinity like the sound of water boiling in a pot. There was the instance when, during his final illness, the Holy Prophet's, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, state was such that he could not even walk. He placed his hands on the shoulders of two companions who helped him to the mosque for prayers, as the Holy Prophet's, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, feet dragged on the ground. According to the Islamic law, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was not bound to attend the mosque for prayers on account of his illness. His love for God could not keep him from the mosque. In reality, prayer was his sustenance, without which he could not survive. When such was his relationship with prayer, then how could an illness keep him from prayer? In health and illness, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was immersed in the remembrance of Allah, and he strove to inculcate the same in his followers. We should analyze ourselves to see whether we do remember Allah in the manner that the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, desired us to. Do we observe prayers regularly, as the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, taught us to? Or do we become indolent from doing so over the slightest of matters? The Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, taught us to remember God at every instance, when sneezing, beginning to eat, finishing eating, upon sleeping, when waking up, after offering prayers, before doing anything important, when performing ablution. In short, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, associated the remembrance of God with daily activities, thereby highlighting the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him's immense and constant love for Allah. Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad, may Allah be pleased with him, writes that it is astonishing that the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was so engaged in offering prayer, all while remaining engaged in extremely busy schedules on a daily basis. He would offer the 5 daily prayers, meet foreign delegations, command the Muslim army, teach the companions, serve as a judge for various disputes, oversee the treasury, oversee matters pertaining to the state, uphold the teachings of Islam, be present for his wives, help in household chores, and many other things. He would do all this during the day, and rather than falling to his bed at the end of the day, he would rest for a short while, and in the middle of the night he would stand out of love for his Lord and offer prayer for so long that his feet would become wounded. When it came to the holy month of Ramadan, it is recorded that the holy prophets, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, worship would increase even further. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, who, in responding to the allegation raised by some against the marriages of the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said that the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had 9 wives. Yet rather than being detracted, the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would spend entire nights worshipping. This goes to show that polygamy in Islam is certainly not on the basis of fulfilling carnal passions. Rather, it can only be exercised on the sole basis of righteousness, only when true, genuine needs arise. The allegations raised against Islam are only on the basis of those who abuse the permission for polygamy, because there are strict conditions which must be met before a person marries more than one wife. It certainly is not on the basis of passions. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, highlighted the manner in which the worship taught by the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, stands alone from all other faiths. Whereas other faiths meet only periodically for prayer or perhaps once a week, the faith taught by the Holy Prophet, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, teaches us to pray multiple times a day. This is the true manner of increasing in love for God and establishing a true relationship with him.